Hey everyone, True here, and today we will go into an in-depth review of the new Storm Rolotia. So let's get right into it and look at Nizeto's AI analysis here. First up, we see the threat levels here, and let's just say they are really high except in one specific case, and that specific case is basically if there is a stun absorber in the enemy team, then her threat level goes below 1, even if the other parts are active, but the other parts do have it in them. So if there is no stun absorber in the enemy team and she hasn't used her Chrono Chaos skill yet, then her threat level is already increased by 50%, and it gets even worse after she gets a kill, which most likely she will only get after her skill Chrono Chaos was used. So then the threat level is 75% higher. At least there's no combination between the two. But even standalone, without the modifier of 0.25 for a stun absorber in the enemy team, those threat levels are super, super high. So she will be targeted a lot in these stages. Moving on to the skills, we see first up the Poison Shock with a 1.0 weight, basically her fallback skill if she cannot use any of the other skills. Then we see the Chrono Chaos skill with a 4.0 weight, but there are some serious zero multipliers in there. If she is facing more than 2 enemies that are currently stun immune, then she will not use that Chrono Chaos skill. She will also not use it if there is a stun absorber on the enemy team that already has over 100 time units. Fair enough. And she will also not cast this skill with a 50% chance if there are 2 enemy units that are stun immune. So yeah, those are some restrictions on actually using the Chrono Chaos, which makes sense because she can only use it once on the battlefield. And then we see the Giga Time Strike with a 1.51 multiplier. An interesting number there, but in general, she will use that if there is at least one enemy with 100 time units or higher, except if these enemies are in stealth mode. The Giga Time Strike doesn't ignore stealth, and it also doesn't ignore armor. And then last but not least, the Savage Step Back. Of course, it needs to be unlocked first, and she needs to get a turn first, given that when that Savage Step Back skill is unlocked, her hate skyrockets. This will be difficult to pull off, so it makes sense that if she actually gets the turn, whether that is by waiting or in the time order or something like that, she will most definitely in any case use the Savage Step Back if she can, and that is very good. Now moving on to my personal thoughts on her, how she can do in arena, what tier I think she will go to, etc, etc. And I think it already shone through in some of my comments in the AI analysis. There is some serious struggles with this unit. Yeah, if she can pull off what she's supposed to do, then it's great. But if that one thing fails, she is struggling. She is basically kind of a one-trick pony. And if that one trick doesn't work, she is gone. But let's dive into the details. Why is it that this is so important that she can actually pull it off? One of her big problems is that super, super high hate. Her survivability is just super limited in that, especially considering that she actually needs to leave the battlefield to fill up the HP herself again. So she doesn't have any active skills that actually heal her. Yes, she does get onto the battlefield with a lot of wards and the endure status effect, but honestly, I don't know. I mean, at least give her the hold count or something, but probably wouldn't make all that much difference, given that she cannot heal herself anyways, but would be interesting with some other healers on the team. Of course, interesting would be to have her with someone that can give her the turn, because that super low speed is another problem, obviously. She has 1 speed, and that means around 100 time units of weight, in which the other units from the enemy team could possibly take her out already. And yeah, it makes sense, I guess, to give from Sixer's perspective, to give the enemy team some chance or time to actually react to her and avoid getting that Chrono Chaos, which is quite a powerful skill, especially against a sleep team, of course, because it grants the sleep wards to your team. It also quickens your team a lot. I mean, the 30% quicken is something that we haven't seen before, so that's a big point there. But on the other hand, is it really that crazy good? I mean, the Chrono Chaos is basically a skill that is super powerful under 2 conditions, and that is no stun immunities on the enemy team and also no stun absorbers on the enemy team. Because basically the ideal route for her or usage for her would be to get the turn as fast as possible, maybe with a gift turn after coming onto the battlefield, then using that Chrono Chaos and immediately using obviously the Giga Time Strike afterwards. At least that is something from a spirit perspective, if she actually gets to use the Chrono Chaos, because also that costs 3 spirits, so that is something that needs to be there for her to be able to use that. But then of course she can use the Giga Time Strike in any case. But moving on to the Giga Time Strike, yes, it does ignore, skin passives and counter, and that is obviously a must given that it's an attack all skill, but it doesn't ignore armor, it doesn't ignore stealth. That's already a huge drawback. Then we have 500% damage, which sounds cool on paper because it's like attacking 4 different units, hopefully, with 500% damage. But is 500% damage enough to actually get the kill? That is something that is questionable in today's meta. There's just so much hold ground plus, hold ground, etc. So she kind of has to get lucky, I think, even to reliably get that kill. And even if she pulls that off, maybe there's 1 stun immune enemy on the enemy team, and then that enemy might take her out before she can use the Savage Step Back. Because ideally, obviously, everybody would be stunned for 150 time units. She uses the Giga Time Strike, which costs 130 time units, and hopefully with that Giga Time Strike she got a kill, and then she can use the Savage Step Back before the enemy team even has a chance to react. So that is the ideal world scenario, but I'm not sure how reliably that scenario actually will exist in today's meta. I think 1 year ago, obviously, she would be insane, or even just a few months ago, but given that we saw that kind of stun skill set getting nerfed, it is a bit problematic because, I mean, generally speaking, you would think, okay, maybe the stun heal entry that she has, if she comes in from the reinforcements, that is already setting off a bit the drawback of the 1 speed, because with the 150 TU stun for 2 random enemies, that should theoretically only leave 2 enemies that can actually react before this new Storm Rolotia gets the turn and gets to use the Chrono Chaos. But there's just a lot of stun immunity coming around, and then we also see the stun absorbers. We see gift turn supporters like Stormlord Miller and Haku. And yeah, so that's just a lot of things that need to be considered, and I think it's becoming too many things. Let's go back to the scenario of her getting to use the Chrono Chaos and then the Giga Time Strike. Maybe she doesn't get a kill because of circumstances that can easily happen. Then she's kind of stuck. What can she still do? Giga Time Strike is the only skill that can actually give her a kill to use the Savage Step Back. I would have liked more for her to have, instead of that Poison Shock first skill, some kind of Swift skill that enables her more easily to actually get a kill and increase her chances of doing the Savage Step Back. But at that point, she cannot stun the enemies anymore. She is on the battlefield, so her entry is used, her Chrono Chaos is used. she can still use the Giga Time Strike, and she will do that if there's just one single unit of 100 time units or higher. But if it's just one unit you're hitting, then the probability obviously is even higher that she doesn't get any kills. And the other problem is that even if she gets a kill with the second Giga Time Strike, maybe some units previously hit hold ground and she gets another turn and can use Giga Time Strike again because one of them is still over 100 time units and the other one still with the low damage get defeated and she gets the kill, then that skill still took 130 time units and the enemies are no longer in that kind of stun paralysis, so they have a lot of time probably to kill Storm Rolotia before she can use the Savage Step Back. That was kind of a lot of negatives, I realize. I mean, honestly, there's still a lot to like about this new Storm Rolotia. We see some great passives. I mean, the stun heal entry is an upgrade to the original Storm Rolotia, even because it stuns even more. I mean, it's random, so there is some room for lucky or unlucky hits, but in general, that entry is already quite good. And then, of course, the other side of her passive, the big one, that kind of 50% purified chance on enemy turns, which is very helpful because she won't get the turn that often and that fast either. So that is something that can, of course, be of big help, especially against the sleep team. Maybe a bit against burn teams too, because of that random purifying of burn teams. Of course, you don't want to have her in a burn team anyways. And that is also another drawback. I mean, she's not a she's not a unit that can easily be used in all teams or in any place. She particularly fails against these kind of stun immune burn teams that are really, really prevalent in the meta right now, which is problematic because, yes, she's a great counter against these sleep water units, but if these sleep water units run something like Light Anya, then a lot of her skill set also doesn't work because the kind of sleep wards and 30% quicken, etc., it only gets applied if there is no stun absorber on the enemy team. So part of the question for her is kind of if that release of Ludmilla and Clarice, the previous water sleep unit that came out last week, is enough to push back the kind of burn meta sufficiently enough that it makes more sense to use the new Storm Rolotia again. Now, some other good news is that at least if she is fully awakened, there is some great weapon choices for her, especially something like the Arclight Buster Greatsword, which increases her attack if there are 2 or more enemies on the enemy team with high TU, and that basically after the Chrono Chaos is a given, and so that Giga Time Strike should be able to hit much harder, and that is necessary because 500% isn't huge. It's good, but as we discussed, not great. And that kind of damage also leads me to maybe one more thing. That is kind of the one copy support play that was very common with the original Storm Rolotia and could work with this one as well to some degree, but I'm not fully convinced, honestly. Yes, she is an upgrade to the original Storm Rolotia, but the original Storm Rolotia has also been pushed out of the meta in the recent months, at least in the very top teams. And part of her skill set really works well at low power, like her passive Purify, her entry. So basically her passives work really well. And then also, of course, the Chrono Gate doesn't need her to be high power, and it still has its usages, like the 30% quicken, of course, very nice, and the sleep wards that are applied. So that's a lot of things that can work for her if she is low power as well. But her survivability is already quite low. Lower power really makes that problem even worse. And then the Savage Step Back means she needs to get a kill to actually use the step back and repeat that kind of cycle. And at one copy getting the kill will be even harder, because then the 500% are basically nothing. So again, she will need that kind of luck of meeting some very weak enemy units on her turn that she can finish off with the Giga Time Strike easily. Another part is Spirit, and yes, the Savage Step Back, for example, produces 3 Spirit, so that's great. The Poison Stun move is also producing a lot of Spirit, but these kind of middle skills, the Chrono Chaos, of course, needs 3 Spirit straight away, so even if she gets the turn, survives until she gets her first turn, she still has to have 3 Spirit available to actually use the Chrono Chaos. Then there is the Giga Time Strike, which probably draws another 4 Spirit if all of the enemies actually did get stunned. So she can basically eat up 7 Spirit within 1 time unit, basically. Which is obviously a lot. Yes, I mean, if she gets the turn with 3 Spirit, then the Giga Time Strike will actually not cost any Spirit, and the kind of locking of the Giga Time Strike of 200 time units isn't too bad either in my eyes. Luckily for her, Spirit isn't that much of a problem in today's meta. One more thing that is good for her is that she can be used towards the end of the battalion, of the arena battalion as well, and also in war, where she always gets to use the Savage Step Back whenever she can, even if there are no reinforcements left. So that is definitely a plus and another upgrade compared to the previous Storm Rolotia. And that might just be her saving grace. So yeah, I've been talking for a very long time now, a lot of rambling. Let's get down to the gist of it. What tier do I think she will go to in the arena tier list from me? And I think the ceiling for her will be the S tier. I think at this point, yes, she's probably still kind of top 20 material, but is she top 10 material? I don't think so, definitely not. And so with all that being said, that I said about her, I think her biggest drawback is that kind of high hate in combination with the low speed. I think this will hold her back from becoming super relevant. I mean, there are servers where burn teams aren't dominating as much, and in these servers, I think she will actually do quite well and help against maybe a sleep meta that is going on there. But all that being said, be on the lookout for another video of me in which will show her in top level arena, and maybe that will change that view again. This is of course just my basically preview and intuition on this new unit. So let's see where she goes from here. What are your thoughts on her? Will you pull for her, or did you already pull for her? I hope this video helped with your decision if you haven't pulled for her already. And if you pulled for her, then also let me know how she does for you in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot. And as always, thanks for watching.